Good evening, Justin here from Bringing Learning to Life. I'm excited to come on tonight with you to talk about the blog this week. If you really knew me, you would know. I'm also deeply saddened to come on because I am so sad about the events of Parkland, Florida, and it's just been on my heart ever since I learned about it yesterday. I really just can't stop thinking about the students there, the teachers, the parents, the administrators. My heart just goes out to them. And we have got to stop the cycle of mass shootings in this country, in schools and in theaters and at concerts, but especially in schools. Our students have to be able to go to school and know that they have a safe place to learn. And our teachers have to be able to know that they're going to be able to teach in safe spaces. And my heart just goes out to everyone there. And I really have no words except to say that I'm praying and that something has to be done. We have to make a change in this country. One of the things I think that teachers and that parents can do is something I'm going to talk about tonight. And I had no idea when I wrote this blog last week and I put it out on Monday that this would have happened yesterday. But I think it's fitting in terms of getting to know our students better as teachers and also as parents. I talked about in the blog how I had this one student that I felt I couldn't reach. He was a very difficult child, and he came into my classroom and he was very defiant almost every single day. I couldn't really teach him. He didn't really like me, he didn't like my class, and he let that be known. And so I gave up essentially on this child. I said I was going to teach the kids that wanted to learn or that came to class prepared. And I was just trying to get through the days, almost really avoiding him at times. I had always said I loved all my students, but if I was honest with myself, I didn't really love this child very much. I was introduced to the idea of Challenge Day by one of my colleagues in about January of this same year, and I knew that I wanted to do it because Challenge Day, after I watched the video on Oprah, really got students to realize that they were all more alike than they are different. And I knew we had some problems with bullying. We had some problems just with some students being malicious to each other. And we had some self-esteem problems. And I knew that my students needed this at this point in time in their lives. I didn't think I needed it, but thought they needed it. Well, we did Challenge Day, and one of the activities of Challenge Day is a walk across the line activity, and it gets students to see that many of their classmates are walking across the line with them and that they're all going through similar things. Another activity that you do in Challenge Day is you sit in a circle and you complete the sentence, if you really knew me, you would know. You don't have to reveal anything that you don't want to reveal about yourself that day. It's very optional. But usually students do a really good job of just being vulnerable and actually, opening up. So that day, I didn't really expect that this child would actually participate. I expected that he just kind of would sit there and not participate at all, or that he would try to sabotage the day in some way. But anyway, what ended up happening actually surprised me because he came into the class, and at first he didn't say very much. But later on, he did participate. And so he started answering the question, if you really knew me, you would know. And he said that his father was in prison. He said, Miss Knox, if you really knew me, you would know my father's in prison. And he used to write me letters, but he hasn't written me in a really long time. And then he said he really missed his dad. He also said that his mom, he didn't really see her that much because she was having to work 2 jobs because his dad wasn't there. She had to pay the bills. And that he had to take care of his little brother when he got home. And that he didn't really get to see his mom that much because by the time she got home, he was already in bed. And that he missed his mom. So here I have a child that has pretty much, not done anything for me all year. But I never really got to know that this child was going through this situation. I didn't know this child's father was in prison. I didn't know that his dad used to talk to him and write him letters, but now he doesn't. I didn't know that he didn't see his mom. I didn't know that he had to take care of his little brother. And here I was trying to teach the Civil War at this point in time, and this was what was going through my head. And I was thinking, this child doesn't care about the Civil War, no wonder. He's fighting his own civil war within himself right now and within his family. But I was expecting him to care about the Civil War that happened in the 1800s. He doesn't care about that, and rightfully so. Because he can't, because he's not secure within himself. He doesn't feel loved. He didn't feel like he had anybody to love him. And here I was, the teacher that spent the most time with him throughout the day, and yet I wasn't loving him. And so it was a wake-up call for me as a teacher. It really was a wake-up call. I had to apologize that day to him, and I did it in front of the whole class because everybody knew that he came into the class every day and that we didn't see eye to eye. Everybody knew that. And I had to apologize for not giving him what he needed. And I made a vow that day that I would be a better teacher to him and that I would have more empathy for his situation. And I did. And me and him actually ended up finding his dad. He's actually got relocated to a new prison, and we were able to reconnect them two. And we were able to just bond in a different way because I now had empathy for this child and what this child was going through. And from that day on, our relationship forever changed. Me and this child, and I didn't say his name in the blog because I wanted to protect his anonymity, but we're still friends to this very day. And if it hadn't been for Challenge Day, I don't think we would have that relationship. I don't think I would have ever developed that empathy for him, and I don't think he would have ever understood my heart because I also revealed things about myself that day to my students. I answered the question too, if you really knew me, you would know. And I got to let them know me as a real person as well. So, I say that all to say, if you're a teacher right now and you're listening to this and you're having that challenging student or challenging students that you don't feel like you can reach, I challenge you to get to know them. Get to know what they're really going through. Maybe you want to have a class challenge day. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to have a writing assignment for them that has them answer the question, if you really knew me, you would know. Or maybe you just want to sit and have a conversation with them and have them answer that question and just be real with you. Students in middle and high school are not going to come to school and tell us what's really going on in their lives 9 times out of 10. They're not going to come to school and say, my mom has cancer. My dad abuses me at home. I hate to go home. We don't have any food at home. My lights are turned off. I don't have any clean clothes at home. There's so many things that our students are going through, and we have no idea. And we get mad that they don't bring a pencil to class, or they don't have their homework. And the reality is, that's the furthest thing from their mind. And I don't excuse, I think we still need to hold our students to high expectations. But I can empathize a little bit more if I know a situation, and that's all I'm saying. And students can empathize with each other more because they're going to realize that they're all more alike than they are different. All middle and high school students, they think that they're the only ones that are going through a problem. They think their lives are horrible and everybody else's lives are perfect. But the reality is, all of your students are going through something. Not all the same magnitude of stuff, but all of our lives are not perfect. We're all going through something. And so I think this day really just opens up the opportunity to let's get real. Let's talk about, what's really going on in our lives. And let's have a little bit more empathy for each other. And let's practice a little bit more kindness for each other. And so this gets me back to Parkland, Florida. I think if schools would do more activities like this that showed students that they're really more all alike than they're different, that we could prevent some of this cruelty. We could diagnose mental health issues easier because we're really getting to know our students and what's really going on with them. And parents, Some of you don't know what's going on with your students. Maybe you're not even a teacher, but you're watching this and you don't even know what's going on with your teenager. Some of our parents are so caught up in work and trying to pay the bills and trying to do it all. And I know, because I'm a parent, I know how hard it is. And I only have one child. I can't imagine those that do have more than one and they're trying to do it all. And sometimes we forget the most important thing, which is getting to know our children, our children and what they're going through. And so sit down with your children. Have them answer the question, if you really knew me, you would know. Because I can guarantee you, when I did that activity with my class, many of my parents would have been shocked at how their students answered that question or ended the phrase of that question. Many of them probably didn't know that their child had contemplated suicide. Many of them didn't know that their child was scared to go home at night. Many of them didn't know that their child didn't feel loved by them. And so sit down with your children, get to know your children, and ask them to answer that hard question. And you answer that hard question too for your for your children. Let them know who you really are. Because sometimes, even as parents, we try to hide behind the mask and pretend like our lives are perfect as well. And I think if we all take those masks off sometimes, even though it takes us being really vulnerable, again, it shows us that we're human, that we're all going through stuff, and that we can all practice a little bit more empathy and kindness in how we talk to each other, how we act to each other, and just come from a place of understanding. And so I challenge you as teachers and parents that are watching, try this activity at home. If you're a teacher and you do think about having a challenge day, go on challengeday.org and then also check with your school counselor. I would never do this activity without my school counselor. And you also need to get your principal's approval before you do any type of challenge day, because it does bring up some emotional issues and you are going to want to have some support staff there. You just are. But it's really good. I can promise you that if any of my former students actually watch this video, they will tell you they do not forget challenge day. They will never forget challenge day, because it did show them how they are all more alike than they are different. And I think that's all, we need to see, to practice a little bit more kindness in this world. I hope that you guys have a good night. And again, we'll continue to pray for all of our teachers and all of our students who are grieving and just at a loss for the situation.